Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and I'm going to be doing a multiplayer battle. Sorry I haven't been uploading recently, it is the holidays, but that means I do have a lot of other stuff to do besides just game. So I've been a little bit behind on this, but I did start Caesar and Gaul campaign. It's been very fun. I should be uploading that soon, unless it depends when I upload this video. So we'll see, but yeah, I am playing Caesar and Gaul. It's very fun, I enjoy it a lot. Don't have too much time to play, but it is going well. Anyways, I just wanted to say some remarks. When I came back for break, I was expecting to be able to finish up the Punic Wars video because of the fact that I thought I'd be back home and I'd have a lot of free time. Sorry to say that actually it turns out the programs that I have access to are not really what I am used to. So if you see at the beginning of some of my videos, they do say this is a trial version of PowerDirect or whatever. That's because I am using a trial version of a program, and it's not the one I'm used to, so I'm not quite as good at using it. Plus, it's trial version, so it has a lot of limited stuff, and it has a watermark on top of it, so that's causing issues. Another thing is the computer I'm using right now is very, very slow, so anything I do ends up taking inordinate amounts of time. So basically what I've been forced to use is going to be Windows Movie Maker, and that's going to be the simplest of the simple programs. So that's enough to do a simple commentary over gameplay like this, and also Caesar and Gaul. But when it comes to making the documentary, it really limits me in what I can do. So what I've been forced to do is actually just record straight up clips. So that's fine, that's what I need, but I can't put them all together because I don't have the program that I have back on my desktop back in college. So I'm going to have to wait to get back in college to put everything together. So sorry again for the delay. I mean, I guess at this point it's been so long that another delay shouldn't mean too much. I am more towards promising quality than I am towards promising you something on a certain date, because I'd rather it turn out well and meet my standards as opposed to just trying to churn out content. And that's something that sort of speaks to what we've been seeing too much in the world lately, especially in video games. If you think about it, all the releases as of late have been trending towards releasing more quantity than quality stuff. So if you guys didn't know, I actually started off with the channel, the Halo Forge Epidemic, and we were all about playing Halo and doing sort of exposés on what the community was doing in terms of custom games and maps and spotlights. So that was really fun. But when it came to Halo 4, we found out that 343 really dropped the ball, and Microsoft had pressured them a lot in terms of the timing of the game, and the game was of lower quality than most Halos because they forced the game out before it was ready. So you know, that's something we're hearing across the board. Same comes with Rome 2 Total War. Same goes with the Call of Duties, which is now sort of the repeat franchise that we see where they just pump out content. So that's something I want to try and avoid. You could say, you know, I'm just trying to cover up for being lazy. A couple points to that effect. One, yes, I will admit that I am trying to relax over break, and I don't always feel like grinding out hours doing a documentary. But B, I'm more concerned about actually trying to deliver quality product, and that is the documentary. It's something that I'm obviously not really paid to do. I do get some funds for through YouTube, but it's really not much, especially now with the recent stuff YouTube's been doing, the shenanigans they've been up to. So I'm really not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I love history, and I'm not going to sacrifice quality for just getting it out early. So that's kind of my mindset behind that, so I hope you guys can understand. Anyways, I'll get it to you as soon as it's ready. If that's any consolation, I guess just keep in mind that I am working on it. I'm a busy student, and I hope that those of you who enjoy history you know, can appreciate the finished content. Anyways, back to the battle here. I've been rambling a bit too much. So anyways, this is going to be a battle that I fought online. I just decided to chill out and play a bit of this because I was having a lot of frustrations just doing shopping for people, killing a lot of time. So holiday stress, I guess you could say. So I decided to unload my stress by killing people online, so that's going to be a good way to relieve some stress. Anyways, what we did is a 2v2 here. Me and another Roman, we're fighting against two players, so it was going to be the Seleucids and the Egyptians. So they said no rules, so I basically figured that meant they'd be bringing chariots and elephants, which they did. So I made sure I brought a couple scorpions to take out his elephants. Over on the wing, I was very wary of a flank attack, so I sent out some triarii and some more hidden components here, so that's going to allow me to bog down his forces here. However, the opponents are going to notice that this has obviously put me in the position that I've I've sent so many forces over here to combat his chariots and all that, that it does mean our main force is in the center of lacking. So I'm going to try and wrap up this wing as quickly as possible, and our opponents are going to start trying to wrap up the other wing before I can relieve this side. But anyways, it looks like I should be able to win this side of the battle. His chariots are still running amok, or not running amok, but running in and amongst my troops. Now my opponent is not doing the best micro with his chariots. If he wanted to, he could just point and click those chariots through my men, and they would just melt through them like a hot knife through butter. So I'm not sure if CA has made any changes to the chariots. I know they've been heavily problematic. So, you know, I haven't been keeping up too much with the patches and stuff like that, but as far as I know, chariots have been very, very troublesome, and obviously I did some videos on that in the past. So some cool things with the expansion pack is actually you do have a new Roman general where you can be Julius Caesar, and he has some special abilities, loyalty to the 10th, and I think the other one is sort of the inspiration of his presence, which is very cool. It means that you have more diversity of generals and abilities, and you actually do get some for non-Roman factions. I think the Averni get Vercingetorix, and then also the Belgians, I believe. I can't remember who they get, but they do get one of their own leaders who makes some of your troops unbreakable, and he has a lot of cool attack and defense bonuses. So I think that's really awesome. Adds a little character to your leadership as opposed to random general. Also, take a look at these elephants, just how powerful these armored elephants are. I've been shooting at them with some of my archers right there for a while in fire mode. Didn't do anything. I was also shooting at them with this scorpion unit, and they're still running around. It just shows how freaking powerful those guys are. I wish they were toned down. It makes me it's kind of annoying to have to fight them in multiplayer because they can just tank so much damage, and it's, you know, you would think that archers would be the key to bringing them down, and you'd think massive spears shot out of siege pieces would be strong enough to take them out, but no, they end up running around, and in the hands of a skilled opponent, they can really wreck you. So the opponent's going to be moving in there with his forces. He's seen he's distracting me enough, so he's going to move in with the rest of his guys. As well as over here, you can just see that I'm wrapping up this flank, so my opponent notices this is going to be the time, obviously, to press forward as much as he can on the right. These elephants are through here, and he's pushing forward with his pike line. Best you can do in these scenarios is either disengage or go around the flank. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing, is just pulling back. I'm going to try and split my forces here because I can see his elephants are coming right at me. I believe they're running amok, which is why they're not necessarily doing the best at targeting my forces. I'm going to go ahead and fire point blank into his spears here. Take a look at the very right side. My ally and the opponent he's facing are going to be wheeling around on the flanks, fighting it out there. So I am definitely going to try and have to keep this flank from being rolled up because I'm not sure how that flanking movement on the other side is going to go down. Anyway, some point blank shots are going to be pretty effective. You can see here tearing through his units. I already killed 10 men, so that's pretty good against a heavily armored unit like that. For a relatively cheap field artillery piece is good. Also took out his elephants finally. It took a lot of legionnaires and archers to get that out. I'm going to keep flanking his forces there. My opponent really wishes he could have had some of these remaining chariots and Azat knights over here in order to knock me out. Those would have been highly effective combined with his elephants, but I was able to surround and knock them out. So that's going to mean I now have the advantage. So as soon as those guys are done, I'm going to disengage, wrap around the flanks. The problem with having just a spear-based force here is he can't really, he has to basically stay defensive. As soon as he opens up gaps by attacking, that's going to allow me to pick apart his forces, start targeting the flanks. But however, what he has done is he's actually brought in a decent amount of, I believe, slingers or archers, not sure which one. So he's going to try picking off my men from the safety of his ranks of spears. So what I've done is put my men obviously into testudo formation. I'm going to keep trying to attack his general, but my opponent is going to target me and he's going to devastate those crews. That's fine. My legionnaires are just going to hold their ground and try and soak up the fire. I'm going to try and get my archers back into the fight and start taking out some of his exposed troops. And usually what you want to do is when you're fighting these guys, obviously put heavy shot on, and then whenever possible, try and target guys from the flank or concentrate fire. What I'm going to do now is something that you should try and do, which is bait your opponent out and try and force him to make moves that he shouldn't do. So obviously I'm going to move my testudo forward. I don't anticipate charging because they're not quick enough, but I'm going to just make the impression that I am moving forward. Purpose for doing that is just biding time, keeping his skirmishers from doing too much damage, and just waiting for more of my forces from that flank to move up. I'm just threatening with my cavalry, going to try and charge through here. If he doesn't move them, you know, I'll clip them a little bit. For the most part, I'm just going to attack and pull out just to force his guys back behind the line of spears and keep them from doing too much damage to me. Over on the right, you can see my ally is going to come and help me. He's actually charging the side of this box, which is going to be good for me. It's going to mean that I have numerical superiority, or the Romans at least, both of our forces, we're going to have superiority. We're going to target some of those guys with their sides turned to me and try and finish them off. So you'll actually find that archers against the loosely spaced spears do significant amounts of damage. Going to bring in my reinforcements there. Look at this flank here. Romans are doing a heavy push. The Egyptian troops should probably try and engage, pin those forces down, because otherwise they're going to overwhelm his own ally. Looks like Egypt is taking that flank, but now I'm pushing down the center. These guys got too close. I'm going to have to pull them out relatively soon. My opponent here is going to try and reform, and that's going to be the opportunity for me to strike forward, get a charge in with my cavalry, and try and force these guys back. And the cav you have, you can see on the left, swooping around his forces. I'm going to try and obviously keep him from doing what he wants to do, which is engage my men in a solid front. I'm going to get around the backs and just annoy the hell out of him. You can also see some of his guys are starting to waver just because of the sheer volume of missiles I was able to shower on him. So I broke one of those troops there. That's going to open up an enormous gap for me to charge through. I don't quite want to engage with his spear line there because you can see it already broke one of my legionnaire troops. The Egyptians here are going to be moving forward, but again, the problem with those spears walls is that they have to attack in formation. So if those were all sword troops, the Egyptian could have easily just attacked the Roman column on the march and had the best of engagements. With the spear troops, it's going to be hard. Also, take a look at that. 2 archers engaging those guys, and then you have a sandwich with the cavalry from the rear and legionnaires in the front with their, hopefully they'll throw their pillar. Nope, I guess not. So we're going to have a pretty good combined attack right there. And I'm going to decide to retarget those guys onto another group of opponents. You don't want to have too much friendly fire. Keep your cavalry cyclo charging, so that's what I'm going to do. Keep these guys engaging. And look at Egypt. He secured that flank, and he's going to start collapsing in on our center. That's going to be a problem because it means that my ally is going to be too heavily clumped up, and he's going to be at the mercy of Egyptian troops shooting them in the back and any returning cavalry he might have. So I'm going to start targeting his men here, and what I'm going to try and do is rally my guys here, try and reform the line, so to say. And I'm going to try and signal that my ally should do the same, because in these types of situations, when it's a mess like this, it's maybe best to straighten out your lines and not fall into a trap. So that's what I'm going to try and do pretty soon, trying to knock out some of the stragglers. And yeah, my ally is going to be telling me good job for the assault. You don't see many courteous people like that, so it was nice to see. Trying to wrap up these cavalry troops before I retreat, because that'll be a significant blow to the enemy's mobility, but he does have more skirmishers forming up. Anyways, like I said, I was trying to get us to reform, so I'm going to draw a line in the sand here. That's going to be a sort of a quote from history from the Alamo. We're going to draw a line in the sand here, and let's go ahead and defend this position, reform the Roman legions, and get ready for a second engagement. These cavalry are going to be just chasing off the spare units who are stragglers. I don't want any of those guys forming up and rejoining. I'm going to send some legionnaires on the left. Something you should do also when you reform a massive line like this is don't keep one massive line. Make sure you still have some sort of flank. So that's why I have those guys on the left, is so the pikes, and this especially applies to a pike army, don't just provide a single front when you're fighting pikes. Make sure you have multiple flanks to be able to fight a pike army. Anyways, my ally is going to be wheeling over to the right, so that's going to be perfect approach. And I'm going to start positioning my troops here. I'm going to send in just the ballista crew, because they're throwaway forces at this point. And these guys are going to start moving up. So here we go. Here comes the clash. The opponent is going to decide to start falling back. I don't think he wants to have those spearmen engaging at that position. Anyways, I've wrapped up those guys there. I'm going to start reforming, pulling those guys back. Yeah, he says he doesn't want to do a new box, but he's kind of going to be forced to when we have this many troops forming around him. Now, keep in mind the pikes always are going to be death traps from the front. Obviously, they have been nerfed quite significantly due to the spacing of the troops, but from the front, it's going to be very hard to break them. So these Roman legionnaires definitely want to get around the sides, and that's why I made sure to keep my cavalry safe and keep them replenished, keep them together. And that's why it was so important for me in the early game to take out that one flank, neutralize his cavalry. Because whoever holds the cavalry advantage obviously gains the mobility advantage, and once you have a mobility advantage, you can force your opponent to do stupid things, and you can get around the back of his forces and land those important morale blows and debuffs to your opponent, which is going to be crucial when fighting heavily armed spike or pike and elite units. So that's usually what you want to do to win these types of battles. And when you're fighting the chariots, as I did, make sure you bring significant amounts of troops. Make sure you bring something like triarii or some spear units. And the ballistas in this case, the field artillery pieces, were definitely not what I expected. They did chip off a certain number of his troops, and they forced the opponents to move forward, but I was expecting them to just slaughter his elephants and his chariots from a distance. Didn't end up doing that, but I'll have to keep testing that or playing around with that. Anyways, the cavalry are going to start forming around, trying to force those pikemen to retreat. And take a look at this. Because the cavalry are there, they don't even have to engage with his forces too. Keep that in mind. Just their mere presence is keeping 2 whole elite infantry units from engaging, which allows us to get numerical superiority elsewhere. So keep in mind that it doesn't just have to be how many forces can you outright defeat. It can also be how many forces can you keep from engaging. So the presence of the cavalry, like I said, keeps those 2 entire units facing the absolute wrong direction. So keep that in mind. That's always going to be a strategy. A lot of it having to do with positioning. Anyways, here comes the legionaries here. What I probably should have done within this battle is just from the get-go remove the formation attack. Also, something you'll see me do is charging these legionaries in, telling them to pull back. That's so I can get more of the pillar to be thrown. I really wish that was an auto, like a toggle type ability where I could tell them to attack, and just like in Rome 1, they would throw their pilla, and if I told them to stop, they would stand still, keep throwing their pilla. I wish it was something like a fire at will button, is what I'm trying to say, and a lot of people have been clamoring for that. I don't know why it's not in the game, but it does seem actually that a lot of troops in the game do have that sort of projectile ability before they charge, either darts or something else. Anyways, here we go. Once the cavalry are inside the enemy lines, you want to make sure to strike out at the blobs. Those melee blobs right there are going to be extremely important to hit from the back, because it's going to turn the tide of battle locally, and any local engagement victory you get there can soon snowball. One local victory can lead to another local victory, and soon enough you're turning the tide of the battle literally, and you'll see a wave propagating through the enemy line as the men again start to waver. We'll keep playing on words, and that's usually how you win these battles. So you can see my ally is starting to pull back. He was suffering at the hands of those spearmen and those pike walls, facing them head on, but now I'm going to be just pushing right on through, and this is going to be the end for the opponent we're fighting. Noble fight, really good game. I had a good time. I always have a good time playing Total War. So I'll try spotlighting some of those other troops. I wanted to show you a 2v2 because those are always fun and pretty epic to show off, and especially they last a little bit longer. Anyways, I'll probably be doing some more videos where I try out some of the other units that you see in the Caesar and Gaul expansion pack. You have access to a couple more barbarian tribes and some more units, so maybe I'll be spotlighting that in the near future. But again, I wanted to apologize for not rolling out with the documentary right away. As I said, you have to keep in mind that I don't have access to all the equipment I need. I'm basically doing editing with Windows Movie Maker and some trial version of products. Also, take a look at the chariot kills, 280 basically, so those guys are still monsters. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.